Hello, everyone. Geez, I don't know about you, but I am tired again, just staying up super late. I mean, I was a little bit. It's funny when you watch a game like that last night.
I was pissed at Drake Kajulia because it's like, just let this game end.
I wasn't mad at him. I fell asleep. I had to when I woke up, I rewound the DVR and watched it. Like I'm getting that intermittent sleep.
But thankfully, it ended pretty quickly after the intermission. So, Russ, you wanted to mention something about?
Yeah, I got a little pre-show rant. I think Eck will appreciate this. So, anytime you go shopping at, let's say, a Lowe's or a Home Depot and even a car dealership, I could throw into that mix. If you were consulting your wife or your significant other, but really, I think this one calls for a woman's touch. I think companies create colors just to muddy up the mix and get your wife's attention. And I'll give you an example. Like, I'm buying a fence, right? Because my fence was smashed by an 800-pound tree. And there's a company that has a color that my wife liked, and it's called like Hempstead Powder Bronze. And already it's a special order, but it's the most special of the special orders, so it takes the longest. It's just like everything is wrong about it, except it looks good. I get it. It really does look good. But guys don't care. Black and white are perfectly acceptable fence colors for men. And men wouldn't care. They could live the rest of their – if I have a white one again, great. If I have a black one, great.
Fence colors. It's pretty funny. I never really thought about that. No, yeah, I mean, we have a white fence here, but like it's –
yeah, but if you had an option –
no, it came with the house, so I don't even think about it.
No, that's right. But on your next fence, if you have an option and you start talking about it with your wife – watch what happens.
Yeah, when an 800-pound gorilla knocks over your fence and you need a new fence, then it's.
I've had the issue of, like, we have a debate. It's funny, a little bit counter to what you're saying, a little bit. Now, we have a debate because my wife's an engineer, so she's very practical with everything.
Okay.
Every room in our house has white walls on it, and I'm like, I don't want just white walls.
So you're the color person. Okay.
I like a little. I like color. I like different kinds of shades of things.
Yeah, he wants eggshell instead of white.
Right. No, not like that bad.
Like when
I know you guys, and I paint, and I'm the one who's going to paint the walls. So believe me, I get it. Like, I painted plenty of white walls in my time in our house, and our house before this. But
I used to think paint swatches was the bane of my existence when you wanted to do that and you put 20 different colors on the wall. But now I'm thinking fence colors has now.
Fence is a whole other level because that's outside the house. That's a totally different thing. Like, I agree with you there. That should really just be like either just black, white, or wooden.
Right.
That's it. Let me just briefly bring up my pet peeve, because in Buffalo we get CBC and we get the playoff games on NBCSN, and I watch them on NBCSN because it's in high def and we only get regular, basic broad, standard definition for CBC.
HD of CBC?
Yeah, and there's no HD for CBC in Buffalo on cable. I don't understand why, but
that's on purpose. That's definitely on purpose.
Yeah, I think they don't want to. It must be something with the Canadian TV, American TV regulations. So anyway, we've gone through this the last few years with the McDonald's random red couch commercial, with the Geico treadmill commercial with the Bruin and the Flyer fan.
Yeah.
The winner for the most annoying award through the first two rounds, clearly to me, is the Kia Cadenza commercial with the actress Christina Hendricks walking out in this elegant black gown and all these chauffeurs opening up the door for her, and she walks by them and gets into a friggin' Kia, which is like a Yugo. It's like you're not getting into a Cadillac, you're not getting into an Audi or a Mercedes, you're getting into a Kia. So, I mean, it's the most ridiculous commercial. So here, let me get dressed in my finest and get into a Ford Festiva.
I don't know, Mike. This NHL Network, not the one you're talking about, but the My Shiny Heiny, and I think that one's got a beat.
I haven't seen that one.
You have not seen that one?
No.
I've not seen that one either. I've been watching a lot of this on Canadian TV too, so I don't know, like, a lot. I mean, it's funny. Like, I haven't seen that at all. That's pretty crazy.
Oh, it's horrendous.
Just look it up online. You'll see.
It's horrendous. Christina Hendricks is the best thing about the commercial, but come on, the premise is so ridiculous. Anyway.
No, the one. I mean, the one I really think is funny, like, because we live in such a weird era of like of global warming, real, not real, whatever, fake news, all this stuff. So the one that gets me is the Hyundai electric car commercial that you keep saying, like, which is that's on a lot too. Where
yeah,
like it's the most fuel efficient car in America, or whatever. And they have people on there like, I'm not really a tree hugger, and then people like, they go through and say, I could care less about the environment. I'm surprised I'm buying this car. It's like that kind of thing. It's like, really, people, you just care less about the environment? Is that really the way you want to sell your car? Your electric car? Like, you build an electric car because it's like, oh no, I don't care, whatever. I never thought, I'm not the kind of guy who would buy an electric car. I don't eat soybeans, that kind of. It's like, what the hell is wrong with people?
Well, I'll give you a worse one. I'm trying to think. What is Steakums. So on the radio, Steakum has an ad that basically says it basically kills vegan, and the commercial sort of is weirdly worded because it's like there's a woman talking, so they think only women could be vegans. And he's talking about how it's mean to eat a cow, and the guy's like, well, I don't care, they taste great. And it's just a total vegan bashing commercial. And then, by the way, Steakums is a family-owned business. And it's like, here's the thing about Steakums, okay? They were always the worst, the cheapest and the worst. So I don't even care if you out there are a meat eater. What I care about is not only are you bashing vegans, how about you taste your own product because it sucks?
Not eating, not one.
HockeyBuzzcast brought to you by Kia and Steakums. All right, ready? We're going to start the show here.
Yeah.
Before we lose any other potential.
Flat frozen meats. Yep, flat frozen meats. I agree. I can't stand cold cuts. I'm just throwing that out there as well. So anyway, all right, here we go. Hello, Hockey World. It's Thursday, May 4th. May the 4th be with you. 2017.
I'm Luke Skywalker. I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohn from Sportsology.
And I'm always right. Let me tell you why. All right. Because here's the thing. What did I say yesterday about Ovechkin?
I said he was a choke artist, and I was right, too.
What did I say what happened in the game?
You said he was looking a little old for his age, like the gray hair.
I've never said he looked old. I never say he chokes. I don't ever say players choke, by the way. So, no, I said that he does not respond well to criticism. That if people go after him and say that he's too aggressive or whatever, he will not pick up his game and play more aggressive. Like you guys said, he's going to come out like he was on fire. He will instead cower, which is what he did in that game. I mean, Ovechkin was as invisible as you could be for Ovechkin. 4 penalty minutes, retaliatory penalty minutes, by the way, and that's for the most part. 2 shots on goal. 2 shots on goal for Ovechkin. No goals, no assists, no points in the easily most important game he's ever played as a Capital, right? So let's just throw it out there. And he comes up totally zero, plus minus of 0. Backstrom, 0-0-0, -1, no penalty minutes, no shots on goal, no hit.
Now here's the thing. I get what you're saying about Ovechkin, and I'm not going to disagree with you, but Backstrom is worse.
No, Backstrom was horrible last night. No question.
Backstrom last night had an opportunity late in the game, and I remember texting it to you, and he absolutely came into the zone timid and afraid to shoot with the game on the line. I couldn't believe it.
Yep. No, I agree. I mean, now, and how is it that Tom Wilson has 4 shots on goal and Ovechkin has 2?
Because Tom Wilson, I think, was the busiest and most energetic Caps forward in that game. I mean, there was
5 shots on goal. Lars Eller, okay, 5. I mean, Ovechkin has 2.
Well, that's the same line, Ak. It's Eller.
No, and they were good. And
that's 2 that hit the net. I'm sure he took more than 2 shots. Like, we know that.
I watched the game, and I'm telling you, I looked specifically for this because I had this theory on him psychologically that I've noticed for years. And he does not love negative press. No one loves it, okay? But I mean, he does not thrive under it. It's not a situation like with everybody over the last couple of days saying he should get kicked out, saying what he did, Crosby was wrong. I don't think Ovechkin's a bad guy at all. Like, I don't. I think he's a good guy. Actually, I really enjoy talking.
I do too. I like him.
I like him a lot. And I do think what he did with Crosby was wrong. I think he probably regretted it because I don't think he wants to hurt Sidney Crosby. That's not his thing. He gets very tied. He gets gets up into the game and all that stuff. I think it was just a moment thing, and he made a mistake. He knows it, but I think he knows he made a mistake, and he feels bad about it. And I honestly think that he's not able to put that away. And to me, I really saw that again last night. And
it's weird. The Capitals need more Justin Williams types because again, when I saw Backstrom being hesitant with the puck, that was like scary to me. Now here's something maybe you could answer, Eck. I can never get a straight answer. Even Doc Emmerich asked the question and he didn't get an answer. How come when you cut yourself at home, you'll bleed for, if let's say I cut myself on, I don't know, a scissor, I'll bleed for like 10 minutes and I'll have a hard time getting it under control. Justin Williams gets hit under the eye. He's bleeding. They press something against it. I'm assuming they cauterize it, and then he can go back out there, and he literally 3 seconds later, he had a great shot attempt on goal on the power play. How is this even possible?
Justin Williams is just a beast. You know,
they crazy glue it.
Even how that stuff they do that. Yeah, that's not stitching. I think it's
No, but I thought maybe cauterizing like it's hot.
They might do that. I mean, I know they have those invisible Band-Aids and stuff like that. You know that they just throw in there. You know, which you can get. They hurt like they don't feel good. They're not. It's not like they feel great. I've used them before too. They they sting like crazy, but they it's better than stitches for sure. But yeah, Justin Williams is just like such.
But they need more Justin Williams on that team. That is the problem with that team. Nobody wants the puck with the game on the line.
Well, no, this was the thing that really, I mean, from a sort of an impartial perspective, because I don't care one way or the other who wins that series. I'm looking forward to it in the sense of wanting entertaining hockey. Penguins come out, they get that 2-0 lead. The one goal was not. I mean, it was an unfortunate circumstance where the puck Gunsel shot goes off of Orloff. So they're up 2-0, and right after that, the Caps took over that game and scored those 2 goals from Kuznetsov and Schmidt within I think 2 minutes of each other. They dominated that window of maybe 6-7 minutes in the second period to get the game even again. And then they fell back into that same conservative mode that they really did in the first period, that they were on their heels. I mean, they at times, I mean, they had a lot of shots on goal in the first period, but there weren't any, to my mind, great, ridiculous scoring opportunities. It was like get shots on Fleury.
Well, there was that one sequence where Fleury made 3 or 4 saves down low. That was ridiculous. Like that was Marc-Andre Fleury from like 5 or 7 years ago. It was crazy how good he was and how impenetrable he seemed for that 20 seconds.
But they scored those 2 goals and they had the advantage. And it's the same thing that they did against Toronto. There were times in that series where Toronto was dominating, where Washington was sort of sitting back on their heels, not really engaged. And then all of a sudden, when Matthews scores the goal in Game 6, they're like, oh, desperate times, desperate measures, boom. They're all over them. They take over the game. And then they can't maintain it. And I'm not saying they have to maintain it for 60 minutes, but that's the reason why they're down 3-1 in this series. They cannot maintain that level of pressure long enough to take advantage of the Penguins, who, honestly, they don't have a great defense. They're without Letang. They're without their number 1 goaltender. They're without Sidney Crosby, and they're still winning because Washington is letting them win.
Sorry, Mike. Mike and I talked about it off air. This is the reality. The Capitals did need Columbus to knock off the Penguins because the Capitals can't beat them mentally. They have a mental block. It's not going away until all of a sudden the Penguins start failing as a team, which will take a few years still. So they needed Columbus to knock them off. I went back and looked at 94 because I knew the Rangers had to have help to get to at least the conference finals. And then, of course, they had to beat New Jersey and great series. But the Capitals knocked off the Penguins then. At that point in time, the Rangers were never going to beat the Penguins.
Yep.
No way, no how. But the Capitals did. So it's always about matchups. And I was reminded this morning from Shane Malloy how Calgary could never beat Edmonton. But when Edmonton got knocked off, then Calgary did make it to the Cup a few times and won one. This is the only way the Caps can get there.
Remember, Winnipeg couldn't beat Calgary, and that was like the big thing. And Winnipeg was a really good team back then, too.
Right, and the one time that Calgary did beat Edmonton, it was the Steve Smith goal off of his
crazy luck. I mean, people often talk about the Flyers around here, too, obviously, and the 2 Stanley Cups they won. And I remember, even as a kid, I remember the fact that they won those Stanley Cups because of Bernie Perrott and Bobby Clark and all that. But they also won it because they avoided Montreal.
Buffalo beat Montreal in 75.
So we could all agree on that. Like, there's these matchups that are just awful for some teams, and the Caps will never admit to it. They'll never talk about it, but it's real, and it's showing now.
Oh yeah, I mean they doubled up on shots, Penguins, last night. They not only did that, but the Penguins blocked almost 3 times as many shots as the Caps. So the Caps were firing all kinds of shots at them last night.
Right.
It was all. I mean, Washington looked like the better team through most of the game. They've looked like the better team through a lot of the series. Honestly, like there are people out there who think that the Capitals have played better than them in all 4 games. But the bottom line is right now they can't. They're not getting the timely goals. They're not getting the right moments. They're not getting good goaltending when they need it at all. Yeah. And that's surprising. I mean, I never would have thought it. I really would have guessed anything but Holtby would have been the reason that they didn't win this series.
I don't know what it is, Zach, but Holtby has just seemed off all playoffs. He didn't really stand out against Toronto, and so far, I mean, not to say I'm not blaming because the shot from Schultz that was the eventual game winner. Nobody's going to stop that shot. It was
and it deflected.
A great shot. But Holtby, Holtby. He reacted really strangely to the Orlov goal because maybe he thought he should have stopped that or been in position, but he just didn't. He just seems like Fleury seems to be in a zone, and Holtby seems like he's outside the zone.
Yeah.
His rebound control has not been stellar.
No,
and it wasn't in that game, and he was a little scrambly, and it cost them too. I mean, it wasn't just him; it was the whole collective, but it cost them.
Well, this is the Penguins from last year as well, where they actually find different players to be stars at different times. Like yesterday was not Malkin.
Although it could have been. I mean, Malkin had a couple of moments where it could have been.
Yeah, one shot and one hit. Like that. That's not very Malkin-like. To me, like.
And he set up Schultz for the winning goal.
No question about it. But it was Hornqvist. I mean, Hornqvist was all over the place. He was. He scored the big goal. I thought. He was just.
Hornqvist is hurt, and they pointed out that Oshie blew right past him and got a great scoring chance, didn't get a goal. And I'm wondering, why didn't the Caps continue to do that?
I know. I don't get it at all. I mean, I really have a weird feeling about this series, though. As much as I've been, on the Penguins for the entire time, and I think the Penguins are going to win this series, I still feel like this series is going to go the distance.
Nah, I don't feel that way now.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think Washington can win Game 5 and force a Game 6, but they've really not shown me anything that they have the mental fortitude to be able to stick this out. I mean, now one other thing.
They can't hold the lead. They don't get clutch goals. Like, what's going to do it?
It's a win. They just need they need a solid win. They need a 3-1, 4-2 victory in Washington.
How to win? I mean,
Well, but Russ, it was sort of a tainted win because they have a 2-0 lead where Holtby is.
Yeah, that wasn't it exactly. I mean, I agree that game still played into the ghost of the Penguins with the Washington.
Okay.
We're dominating this team completely, and in the final 2 minutes they get 2 goals and tie up the game. So they're mentally fragile as it is, and that didn't really help. But now I don't know if this means anything because I would seriously doubt up 3-1 that they're going to rush him back. But Sidney Crosby did skate at the Penguins practice facility this morning, which might be a sign that he could return at some point. But it could also be simply, this is what happens during the playoffs where you try to send out little signals of things that might happen.
Would you? I mean, I think it means something. I don't think it means he's going to be back in this series, but I think it means he could be back in the playoffs. I think with Crosby, there's no reason at all if you take it out for good that you would even put him on the ice. There's no reason at all. Because you're absolutely. But to me, it's a sign that he is looking to get back, which is a great sign, for the Penguins and a great sign for the NHL in general. But yeah, I thought that I don't know. I just feel like the Capitals were so much better than the Penguins a lot of last night that I really feel as if that they just if they can come back
but they don't know how to win. The guys on the Penguins know how to win.
No, they need to change that. They have a game at home. They've got everything going for them to win that game in Game 5. There's no reason that they can't win that game in Game 5 in my mind. Now, and then it really does get a little bit hairy for Pittsburgh because the Penguins have been outshot and outplayed in the last couple of games. If they lose Game 5, they go back to Pittsburgh now. They can't be outshot twice as much at home again, in Game 6 and expect to win.
Now, here's the beauty of Phil Kessel, by the way, because he had a great scoring chance that I thought was going to go in and didn't, but just a tremendous play where he literally burst into the offensive zone on his own and went right to the net. But listen to his postgame. This is why it's good to have some Phil Kessels on your team. I'm just going to go out there and do the same thing I do all the time and hope it works out. Nothing affects this guy.
Yeah.
If they're losing 3-0 in the series, he's going to do the same thing.
I don't know about that, Russ. In the first period, he lost a blade off of his skate, and he hobbled to the bench, and he was losing it on the bench like he was.
No, I mean something like that could be very frustrating.
No, he was losing it on the bench like he had run out of mustard.
Okay, I get it, but I'm just saying. I think Kessel. You have to have more guys like that are unaffected, whereas the Capitals guys are affected.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I do. I know and that comes from one team having won a Stanley Cup last year and one team having never won a Stanley Cup. I mean, that plays into it for sure.
Yeah, here's a follow-up on Kessel. He says, yeah, I think we've had this before. We seem to get some injuries once in a while, and we keep going.
Yeah, no,
you're used to it.
You're right. I mean, the weird thing about the teams, you watched last night, like when, and looking at the standings today, not standings, but, looking at where everybody is, obviously you've got, a series to 2-2, another series to 3-1, but you literally have, like the Penguins are 7-2 in the playoffs. The Ducks are 6-2 in the playoffs.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing.
Capitals are 5-5. The Capitals are 500 team in the playoffs right now. That's tough.
This is the thing that should be concerning. They only gave up 18 shots last night. 18. Holtby led in 3 goals. I mean, when you're limiting a team,
but at the same time, it's also I'm knowing Barry Trotz the way I sort of do. He's going to look at it like more like the way I'm saying it. Like, listen, we are starting to take over this series on the ice. We're not taking it over in the goals, but we're taking it over on the ice. And if we can continue to do that, we have a chance here. That's how they're going to play. I don't
say that. Yeah. But it's going to have to. There's really, to be honest, there's not much Barry Trotz can do at this point. It's really up to these players because it's in their heads, and I don't think Barry Trotz knows how to get it out of their heads. Other than, like you said, they do have to just have an overwhelming win, which I don't think they can do against the Penguins. I think they still could win a game. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think they could have an overwhelming win where all of a sudden they win 2 in a row. They're going to have to win 3 or 4 here. It's not happening.
Yeah, I mean, no, I think winning the series is I don't think they're going to win 3 in a row, but I think I can easily see them. I can see them winning 1, and we can all see them winning 1. So I'm not that crazy that I can see them winning 2. But I really can. Like, I can really see them winning 2, and I can see this getting back to Washington. And then you really do face your demons in Game 7 in Washington if you're the Capitals, right? That's where you face your demons for sure. And that to me is right now.
But Pittsburgh will fight tooth and nail to never get to a Game 7.
They will that game, but I don't know. Let's move on to the next game. But it's really a tough one. It is a tough one to call. I think that this still feels like we haven't seen this whole series yet. It doesn't. It feels like there's something more to this series. At least 1 or 2 more. I mean, there's obviously 1 more game, but I think there could be 2 more.
I think we've seen most of it. I'll be honest.
We'll find out. Ovechkin has to come up big Backstrom.
Other than dirtier play, because clearly, like Mike said, if next game somehow the Capitals are down 3 goals, watch out.
Well, then I agree with you.
Well, then it'll be Pittsburgh doing even up score. Like, let's get our last crack at the Caps. If we're up 3 or 4 goals, I'm really surprised because we mentioned the name Tom Sestito. I'm surprised he didn't even skate in the pregame skate. I think that would have been like. They went with, was it Wilson and Rowney in the lineup on the 4th line, and they pretty much played. I think their ice time was down significantly. So I mean, that's the thing. That's the thing that's absolutely puzzling about this series. To my mind, the Caps are so much more talented and deep than the Penguins. It's all the mental aspect. They cannot get by the fact that they cannot beat this team, and it's really to me. Brian McClellan at the end of the series, if and when the Caps lose, I think they seriously have to consider not blowing it up, but a massive reorganization of the franchise because this group simply can't beat the Penguins.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I mean, yet they're killing it in regular season. They're a solid team. Obviously, they keep going out and getting the kind of players that you would expect to do to help you. Like they go Justin Williams, they get Oshie, they get these kind of players that you'd expect. I mean, Shattenkirk, that's another deal to me. That's a different kind of a trade.
Look, sometimes you trade for a guy, you plug him in, it doesn't work out great. It happens.
Yeah, and that's fun.
There is a school of thought that they traded for Shattenkirk simply to keep him away from other teams. He could do no harm. He comes in. He's a 6.
Yeah, and I think the Penguins are in on him too. I do think the Penguins, and they know, you're going to deal with the Penguins. Wilson played 14 minutes last night, which is not terrible for him, obviously. But like I said,
he's been good this whole series. He has.
He took 4 shots on goal in his 14 minutes. Where
he's been good. Tom Wilson has been scoring goals, causing trouble. He's been effective.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All right, let's move on to the late game. The thing I hate about these late overtime games, I love overtime games. There's nothing better than overtime. But I hate when overtime ends super fast like this because
I don't.
No, just because mentally, I'm sitting there and I'm really hungry. It's the middle of the night. You start to get oh man, I got to eat something, or I'm just going to go to sleep. I want to go to sleep.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to make some. Oh, fine. They're going to overtime. Fine, I'm going to make something. So I put some chicken in and stuff like that. I'm waiting, and I'm bringing my chicken into the room to sit down, and they score. Well,
nobody sous-vide something in the middle of the night. Let's start there.
Man, I am literally toaster ovening the children's chicken nuggets at that point. That's where you're at. That's where I'm at.
Ranch dressing.
No, maybe some A1 steak sauce and chicken nuggets. That's my deal, right?
A1 because that's very highbrow. I get it.
No, I just like A1, so I'm sitting there.
He puts A1 on his steakums.
No, I don't need steak. But all right, so I'm sitting there, and just that's stupid. I'm oh damn it, this. I got all this chicken to eat, and it's and it's 1 a.m. I'm what the hell am I going to eat this chicken for at 1 a.m?
It would have been preferable if Edmonton had not scored with 1 minute and 40 seconds left to go in regular. I mean, that was the thing. I mean, Anaheim went through the entire third period in a defensive shell, and they just keep them to the outside. And Edmonton was getting offensive chances, but not a ton of them. But I mean, overall in this game, though, Edmonton came out really applying the pressure on the Ducks. They get those 2 goals. And
hang on, before the 2 goals, there was something significant.
Okay.
The significant thing, I was groggy for this game, so I rewatched the highlights. But I watched it, but I didn't. It was like osmosis, right? But anyhow, the significant thing was, and Eck will never give him credit, so I'm going to do it. John Gibson absolutely stole the puck away from Patrick Maroon for a perfect scoring chance with his stick. Now, again, they still went up 1-0 Edmonton, but that was early on, and I think that would have set a bigger tone than when they did go up 1-0. And Gibson stopping that was a really big deal early in the game because I think it gave Anaheim just a little bit more time to sort of, breathe. Now, they did still go down in that game.
Yeah, they went down 2-0.
I know, but it could have been worse.
Yeah.
But the point was, you knew that at that point Gibson was really good, and I think the players were, confident in him. Now you can go with the 2 goals, and then I got.
Well, no,
I like Gibson, so don't say I'll never give him credit. I don't think he's the greatest goalie on the planet.
I thought the key
goalie that we have, but I think he's a really good goalie, and I think that there's nothing he could have done on the first 2 goals.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
The second goal was really just ridiculous. I mean, there's nothing he could have done on that. The bouncing back and forth thing, and ends up on McDavid's stick, right, with a wide open net. I mean, you're not going to do anything with that, right? So.
The key moment in the game was the last minute and a half of the first period and the beginning of the second. Yeah. When Edmonton had a power play, they got through the end of the period. They come back for the second, and Perry scores that goal. And I wanted to get your opinion on it because I was sort of half and half on this one. I thought, Larson made contact with Perry and pushed him toward the goal, but I think Perry allowed himself to make contact with the goalie.
Oh, yeah, he definitely allowed himself, but that's what players do, right? They allow. I mean, if you get bumped in the crease, you are going to let that bump go to its natural conclusion. Okay, that's the bottom line. If you're a forward, because if you get hit at all, you're allowed to take out the goalie. Essentially, that's real. And these guys are good enough to know that. They know that. Okay, you just knocked me, and I'm near the goalie. You're done. That you're going in the goalie, and I think that's what happened. I mean, I thought I tweeted out a moment. There was a moment at the end of the first period. I think it was the first period. It might have been the second period. Again, late at night, things sort of all do blend into one. Where Talbot made 4 or 5 really good saves.
It was at the end of the second.
End of the second period. Okay, so I tweeted, and it was I tweet out, Cam Talbot may have just saved this series for Edmonton. And
yeah, I think
it was destroyed on Twitter. It's idiot, they're up 2-1. I'm I know they're up 2-1, but you don't want to go 2-2 in this series with Anaheim, and then and play a best of 3 with Anaheim with all the experience they have. You don't want to do that, So golly, man, people on Twitter just need to be a little bit nicer.
Yeah,
I mean,
they do need to be a little
that's
nicer.
your opinion, but don't be like, this is like, I was thinking about the other day, like someone said to me in the store, we were arguing about what the best cut of beef is. Okay, and you'll like this, Russ. So we're talking about like prime rib or sirloin steak,
Right.
Talking two different, like T-bone or prime rib. So we're going through these things, and I said one thing, and the guy was like a nice guy. He's like, I totally disagree. I think this. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. I didn't say it back to him. You're an idiot for thinking that.
Right.
What's wrong with you? Why would you ever say? It's like we need to be a little more in real life, like we are, We need to be a little bit more on Twitter, like we are in real life. I did not once say you're a douche, like whatever, for thinking that. I mean, I would have gotten beaten up, like what the hell. So anyway,
or he would have stolen your meat. Either way, it would have been bad.
I said this about Talbot, and people lost their minds, and I was complimenting the Oilers, by the way. It's like the Oilers fans, like, I'm complimenting you.
They're on edge right now. They are.
Anyway, I'm complimenting your goalie, and I'm just saying that there were some huge saves. So anyway, I mean, obviously Getzlaf jumps into beast mode last night, and just
and I was gonna say I asked to see more out of Ryan Getzlaf, and now I am seeing vintage Ryan Getzlaf.
Maybe ever Ryan Getzlaf, honestly.
I think Getzlaf got a bit of energy from Carlisle's tactic of putting Perry back on the line with him. Now he mixed him around because he wasn't Perry all night because he was on the line with Raquel. And again, what's going on in this series is you're seeing the shifting of the responsibility in the center of the Anaheim offense going from Getzlaf and Perry to Silfverberg and Raquel, because Silfverberg and Raquel have been monsters in the playoffs so far.
Here's two things. So here's two interesting things about that. First one is a guy on Twitter, a follower at VinnyBoy8 with one N, pointed out to me, and if the stat's wrong, you could just blame him, Twitter. That Getzlaf is at 62% for faceoffs. McDavid is at 25, Draisaitl 17, Nugent Hopkins 20. And my reaction was, it's a man among boys, because when younger players acclimate to the league, even if 2-3 years into it, the one place you could still kill a player who's more talented than you is on the faceoff dot. And Connor McDavid may be one of the most talented guys in the league, but he's not one of the best faceoff guys yet.
Well, and I'm curious, I don't know if you guys were napping when this happened, but late in the third period when Vermette got the penalty for closing his hand on the puck, he was knocked down in the faceoff circle, and I don't think he closed his hand on the puck. I think he shoved the puck with his glove.
Yeah, no, he didn't. He closed. I mean, it's funny because I had the
I think he did. I saw that.
I didn't know what it was, so I thought it was closed. I thought it was just grabbing the other guy's stick, which is what he did. Like, I thought that's what it was, because I had the sound down at the time because my son was waking up and I was trying to get him back to sleep. So I had the sound down, and he's laying next to me, and I thought, oh man, he just grabbed his stick, and I thought that's why, because he does fall down and grabs the stick of the other center, which was pretty, dirty play. But at the same time, at that point in the game, should not have been called. And and I that's my opinion. I guess that's just
And I thought Talbot had a great game, but Oscar Klefbom was awful. He was
no. The award for awfulness goes to Adam Larson. He was minus.
Either one. I mean, Larson had
out there for awful. I'm Nugent Hopkins, man. I'm sorry. That's just like, first of all, the goal Getzlaf scores is just inexcusable. Like the one where he takes it off of Nugent Hopkins' stick, where Nugent Hopkins is waiting too long. Yeah. Nugent Hopkins, Russ, should be your poster child on your radio show for guys that are rushed into the NHL. Like, there's no question that when he makes mistakes, they are huge mistakes, and they are mistakes that he wouldn't have made if he had played a little bit longer in juniors.
Yeah, but
I disagree with that.
I think he stayed in.
He did stay 1 year. I think he stayed 1 year, but he could have stayed one more, I think.
Yeah, he could have. And the crazy thing about him is
that's what X getting at.
I was totally impressed with him when he was playing with his peers at the World Cup of Hockey. I was like, this guy, when you look at him with his peers, playing in the under or whatever it was, under 26 or whatever 3 thing it was, he looked good to me, at times. Like, and I was just, but now you put him back in there, with older players in situations like this, it's just not. He's just not good. He's not good right now.
No, I don't disagree, and you're right. We all have these guys that we could say had horrible games, and they did, and these. But here was the overall thing about the Oilers' defense, which I think is ultimately letting him down, because it's not Cam Talbot. It's really not Cam Talbot's fault.
No, not at all.
Their defense has a failure to clear the puck out when it's important situations, and also not have their sticks down. Anaheim was victimizing these guys because they didn't have their sticks down near the net, and they would get a clear shot from the hash marks. And you can't allow that in the playoffs. It's crazy to me that defensemen were there getting their sticks down late.
Well, I immediately went on social media after the game and after looking at the box score and seeing that Adam Larson was -4. And I think I don't know if I texted it or tweeted it last night or this morning, but to me, that just shows that this revisionist history that's going on, that's been going on the last round and a half, that says that the Larson for Hall deal was good for both teams is complete and total bunk. Because Adam Larson is a 3-4 defenseman, and Edmonton has him playing as a top pairing guy. And the longer that you play him as a top pairing guy, the more you're going to get exposed. He's an average or a little above average defenseman, making a little over $4 million, and you gave up a #1 pick. And somebody came back to me and said, "Well, Taylor Hall didn't do that great in New Jersey." Who the hell else is on New Jersey other than Taylor Hall?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that it was the greatest trade in the history of the world, but I still think it was a trade that both teams won on. I really do. I still think
it gave each team what they wanted, and I think I'm not going to pick on Adam Larson for that game. It was bad because Adam Larson's had a lot of good moments too. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, the thing about Larson is this. I mean, like, honestly, if you're thinking Adam Larson's going to be your shutdown defenseman, you're not necessarily thinking the right stuff. Like, he's a shutdown defenseman compared to Edmonton's other defenseman, but he's not a shutdown defenseman. You know what I mean? So, like, at the end of the day, to me, he should be a third or fourth. He should be able to score for you in the power play and make good plays, and he's a good outlet pass guy. He's a good transitional guy, which you definitely need on a team like Edmonton. He makes good first passes, but he's not going to, they don't have, Luke Richardson on that defense. Like, they have no one out there and so that is why that team blows leads all the time and have for the last couple of years, right? So, I mean, the closest they have maybe some, you've got on a shutdown defenseman. I'm like, whoa, that's like crazy too. I mean,
I think Edmonton has a defense that's basically two pairs of 3s and 4s, and then 5-6. Chris Russell's a 4. Darnell Nurse is probably a 3 or a 4. Clefbaum is a 3 or a 4, and so is Larson. You do not have. It
shows at crunch time. It does.
Yeah, right. And when you're going head to head with a team like Anaheim, who has, I think, 3 top pairing guys in Vatanen, Lindholm, and Fowler, and potentially a couple top pairing guys coming in Montour and Theodore.
They would be playing 20 minutes a game if they were on Edmonton. I mean, the thing is like this, like the bottom line is like the Ducks have guys that they're not even playing that would be top pairing guys on Edmonton. And it's just like when everybody's healthy. If everybody was healthy, they would be in that spot. So, yeah, I totally agree with you. But
here's another good one, Eck.
Yeah.
So with the Las Vegas expansion draft coming up, early in the season, there was a ton of talk that maybe Silfverberg would be the guy that would go to Vegas. Now with 7 goals in the playoffs, there's no way in hell he's going to Vegas.
Well, comparisons to Alfredson, like Daniel Alfredson, that was coming out last night. Oh, yeah, they find him like Daniel Alfredson.
And listen, I like him. I never would have put him in that situation, but people were.
Well, Russ, here's the dilemma for Anaheim, because I've looked at their situation when it comes to the expansion draft a lot, because I think it ties in with what's going to happen with Toronto in terms of trade later on in the summer. Bieksa's got a no-move clause. Now, right now, Bieksa's hurt, and this could complicate things, because if they want to buy him out and he's still injured, they can't. Right. So right now, even if they buy out Bieksa, they protect the top three defensemen, Vatanen, Lindholm, and Fowler. They still expose Josh Manson. And Josh Manson, if you watch in this series, has been really, really good. And he's not just a tough defenseman. He can rush the puck. He has an offensive side to his game. I think he's a quality defenseman. So this is what Bob Murray's going to have to deal with. For him to protect Silfverberg, he's probably going to have to expose or buy out Bieksa of his final year, and maybe either trade Manson or lose Manson in expansion. So that's a price to pay.
Or make some sort of deal with Vegas. I wrote about it on Sportsology. There's a lot of things McPhee can do, but the interesting thing to me, Eck, is in the years past, those GMs in that position would always do things secretly.
Right.
McPhee was quoted as saying, I'm open to everything, whether it's trading a pick, picking the player you want, not picking the player you don't want. You know, like he's open to all of those situations, and he talked about it openly. It's crazy.
What's fascinating about the situation is that he is I don't remember a team coming in the NHL by itself before. Okay, so that's the weird thing about this, because normally you would have two teams coming in with an expansion draft, right? So, and that's what we've seen in the past, right? Teams came in pairs. I'm sure it happened where one came in, but I can't really remember it. So when you think about that, McPhee has nothing to hide. Like he doesn't have to. Like if you have another team coming in with you, then you have to deal with that team, and you have to be a little bit more. But he's by himself, which is crazy and a huge advantage to him. I mean, just way bigger that they didn't bring in Quebec right now, and that they're going to bring in Quebec eventually on its own, or move a team to Quebec. Whatever happens there.
He's right now the most important GM in the league for the next couple weeks,
and he's loving it. And he's a good GM to have in that role, because
here's the question, because and the NHL has made it clear that any of these little side deals that are being made between Vegas and whatever team have to be reported to the league, because there's conditions in there that may affect who they pick from an individual team. The question is
not reported to us. They don't have to report to us. Remember that.
Say that again.
They don't have to be reported to us. Like they don't have to put them out.
Well, that's my question. Is it just going to be reported to the league and not exposed out there?
It's up to the individual team.
That sucks. I mean, because honestly, that's going to be the interesting part.
Well, they did expose the list of guys that are exempt because of injuries, bad contracts, and I did tweet out that day that it's sad that Chris Pronger cannot be on the Vegas team. But Chris Pronger was in that group. All the guys you'd expect, Nathan Horton. They did put that out.
Well, that's obvious, though. I mean, this is the thing. Is this? I mean, if McPhee can play this, and teams. I said before, there's huge issues here. There's huge conflicts of interest going on by McPhee deciding who, and part of the deal with him might be like, okay, we're going to trade you this guy, but only if you promise not to expose it, because if you do expose it, then we're not going to make that trade.
Right.
I can see that happening because McPhee, every time he exposes something, it's like turning over one of his cards on the poker table,
But do you think Jim Rutherford is just going to hand over one of his goalies to McPhee? No way.
No,
but he might have to give up a first-round pick this year to keep them both.
Well,
I've talked to so many GMs who hate the fact that this is going to be this way. That they're not publicly just making it completely public and open, because it would help them all a lot. But he's hell-bent on making Vegas a good team right away. That's what's happening here. They want to make Vegas a pretty good team right away.
The one thing that McPhee can't do is help another team circumvent the cap, because say for example.
Don't we always doesn't every deal? I mean, that's crazy, because teams help other teams circumvent the cap all the time.
Let me explain why. Say for example, there's a player with 2 years left in his contract. I think Brooks Orpik has 2 years left. Say for example, that's the guy that Washington exposes. Now I don't know about no move clauses, but I'm just using this as an example. Vegas cannot buy out a player that they claim in the expansion draft for the first year. They can do it after year one. Right. So the thing is, they have to reach the salary cap floor for year one. So in a way, that helps them to claim a guy like Orpik and then buy him out after 1 year.
I'm going to make a prediction here. I don't think Vegas is going to swallow up bad contracts. There's a lot of guys out there writing. They think they'll just take these bad contracts and in a year get rid of them. I don't think they're going to operate that way, and I don't think they should operate that way.
No, but what I do think is McPhee is going to bring in guys that he knows, like a guy like Brooks who got pushed down to the minor leagues by the Maple Leafs because of his big contract. Brooks is going to end up on Vegas. I would not be surprised if he ends up on Vegas, or if a guy like Eric Fair, who got traded from Pittsburgh to Toronto, in my mind, simply to be the guy that they pick up.
If Michael Neuvirth is unprotected, he will be on Vegas.
Right.
Yeah. Evander Kane is going to go to Vegas, I really think.
It's possible.
Everyone says it's a can of worms, but I'm telling you, I talked to people yesterday about it, and that Vegas wants him. So and if Vegas wants him, Buffalo will make it happen. That's
rent a penthouse and get that spread of $100 bills in your hands, Evander.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
That's nuts. Absolutely nuts.
But this is a fluid situation. This Vegas situation is very fluid, and it changes every day. And like I said, every day Marc-Andre Fleury's case gets stronger, and so does other players. Like now there's no way Anaheim would not protect Silfverberg, but there was a way earlier, and Nashville's going through the same thing. There are guys playing so well that now it's like, well, wait a minute. I was going to protect that guy, but now how can I give him up?
I mean, my idea, Russ, was with the Rangers trading or exposing Nash, but the way Nash has played in the playoffs,
they're not giving him up.
They're not giving him up.
Nope.
Oh, well, I think that would be foolish.
No, I don't think they are, Eck. I think
it's only 1 year, Eck. It's only 1 year.
Only 1 year. They're going to keep him.
I guess so. I mean, who could you end up? You could end up losing like Lindbergh or somebody like that, probably, right?
Yeah, you'll probably lose Lindbergh or Klein
or Grabner.
No, Grabner's got a 2-year deal, so
right. That's what I'm saying. Can they protect him? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, there's a lot there, but I mean, if they're willing to take Rick Nash, I would let them take Rick Nash. That's my.
No, I haven't heard any update on this, and we were joking about this in our group text, but John Vogel of the Buffalo News reported this morning, and this is the reason that this is news is because a couple years ago when Mike Babcock was hired by the Leafs, the story broke because someone got the tail number of the MLS&E private plane going from Toronto to Detroit and back, and that was how the Babcock story sort of started to gain momentum. Well, there apparently the Pagula private plane is flying to Pittsburgh and back this afternoon, which has led to a lot of speculation that Jason Botterill, who's been assumed to be the leading candidate, is going to be named either today or tomorrow. I don't know if that's. I
found out it was Richie Hebner, but anyhow, it could be Jason Botterill.
I think it was Pierre LaRouche.
I'm here to report a new thing. Like I have E1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. E6 is a rumor from an air traffic controller. Okay, so now that's what it is. I talked to an air traffic controller this morning. E6.
Is this the point that we're at now that somebody is going to be staking out the airport and looking at planes?
We are only at the beginning of this, because wait till there's facial recognition on everybody's phones. I mean, it's like we're at the very beginning of how much we're going to be, how much people's privacy is going to affect how much we find out about who's going where. I mean, a lot of people I talked to said the Sabres were nuts for holding these interviews at the stadium,
right.
Holding it there, because obviously Buffalo has plenty of people that are reporting on this team, and they know everybody who's coming in and leaving. They can see it was
smart. They do it in some other city at an undisclosed location. It would be really hard to figure that one out.
And that's usually what teams do. I know a lot of times teams hold it in New York City. They'll hold it in Chicago. They'll have this.
If it were me, where would I go that nobody else would care or look for me? Like Toledo, Ohio.
I think you just go to New York City and you're fine. New York City.
No, I go to Toledo, Ohio the
Pagulas have property in Florida. They could have brought these people down to Florida, and nobody would have known the wiser.
Never was bringing important people to Florida. We've learned that by now. No, but
they're not bringing them to Mar-a-Lago.
No, but I'm just saying that they could have done it, but we sit there and say they could have done that. You know why they couldn't do that? They're overwhelmed. They've got a friggin' football team going crazy. They couldn't leave the stadium. They were in the middle of the draft. They were in the middle.
That does play into it. There's no question.
They're
overwhelmed by doing too much at once. I mean, they're trying to put together 2 entirely new staffs, and Poole is doing it with a lot of.
But they're doing the Sabres GM, maybe team president. They're doing that first simply because they have to. You cannot have a general manager not in place 6 weeks, 7 weeks before the draft. Right now, until training camp, until September, it's fine not to have a general manager for the NFL team. They're focusing on the GM for the Sabres first because this guy's going to have to make decisions.
Yeah, but they're interviewing people for the football team all this time too. So
they're concentrating. Apparently, they're concentrating more on the Sabres GM.
I don't know. I mean,
I don't know about that.
People. It's hard to find a good NFL GM. There's NFL GM. They have to really woo. I mean, it's there's plenty of GMs who will take this job.
The NFL franchise is probably worth 4 times what the hockey franchises
It
work.
means more to them, as you've said before. It does, and it means, and not that's not to say they don't care about the Sabres, because obviously they do.
No, of course they do.
No, Pagula is more of a Sabres fan than he is a Bills
but
fan.
monetarily wise, there's more money at stake with the Bills.
I get that.
It's a harder job to fill, the NFL GM. I think it's a harder job to fill, and I don't know much about football. But from what I'm talking,
I think you're right about that, because the NFL GMs have shorter lifespans than NHL GMs.
No, but I'll complicate it even more. The the Bills GM job is going to be more tougher to fill, because they have a head coach who is in control of most things right now, and it's going to basically their GM is going to have to get the stamp of approval from Sean McDermott, the Bills coach. So I think actually they have more freedom to go in whatever direction they want for the Sabres GM. But it was interesting. All the things I've heard in the last couple of days is that everybody is suggesting that they need to put a team president in place and not just a general manager.
I would have thought they would have done that to help the search. It only makes sense.
Right.
They couldn't. I mean,
yes, they could. What do you mean they couldn't?
According to them, they couldn't. Like I talked to them, they said they couldn't. I mean, I agree they could, but they didn't want to do that. And this is why, because Pagula he wants to eliminate unknowns, right? So Pagula doesn't like the way things have gone before, because he feels like he's been like manhandled by surprise people who've come in and taken power and stuff like that. So he is simply going with people he trusts, and himself and his wife. And this is a really small group that's interviewing these guys.
Right.
So, and that's true with the NHL and the NFL. So that's why Pagula is got to be stressed out of his gourd right now, because
he has to be.
He's the one who's doing. He is convinced that this is going to be, and you can't blame him. He owns the freaking team. He can do this. That this is going to be on him. Like he's not going to bring in a president to then interview GMs with him that he's just meeting as a new president. Like that's not going to happen.
Yeah, but if he brings in, if he brings in a president after he hires the general manager, and it's a president who's not on board with the general manager that's hired, all you're doing is creating more dysfunction. So that's
why, and that's very possible. But I think that what he will do is keep this president. I don't think he's gonna change presidents. I think he's gonna keep this president for now, and then maybe in time bring in somebody that Botterall's worked with before, that he knows, that he trusts, that he likes, and like a duo that's worked together. But I think he's not gonna. I think it's obviously is Botterill. I mean, he's had the second interview. There's a couple more interviews happening, but
by the time they hire a GM, that person is gonna have like a week or less to figure out who they're protecting or not for the Vegas draft, and then has to go over what everybody has put together for the NHL draft. No, this is not easy, and there's a lot. I'll have a few weeks, but that's not a lot of time.
Unfortunately, you have the crazy thing is, if they are going to bring in Botterill while the Penguins are still playing, which they're going to have to do.
Yeah, now the thing is, and there's some big debate about this. Will he say, "I'll come in as soon as we're out," or will he just come in right away?
I heard they're going to let him go right away. And that and there are people in Pittsburgh who are not thrilled about that, but at the same time, it's not as if there really is any conflict of interest. The Penguins aren't playing the Sabres. The Sabres aren't in the playoffs anymore. And it's not like an assistant GM is doing a whole lot in the second round of the playoffs, right? Like this is right now for him. What's he doing with the Penguins? Is Wilkes-Barre playing still? I don't think they are.
No, I was just checking that, but they're playing. No, they lost to Providence, so they're eliminated.
I thought they were out.
When did that happen? Recently?
Yeah, a couple days ago.
That may have played into the timing of this a little bit.
It probably did, yeah.
I might have said, because that wouldn't necessarily have been fair, but his responsibilities with the Pittsburgh Penguins themselves, Penguins will let him go. He's been such a good soldier there. It's like, you're not gonna, we're fine. He actually, it really almost removes conflict of interest by him leaving now, because the Penguins are going to immediately. They're going to have to, even before the season ends, they're going to have to shift into their focus on what they're going to do about everything here. They're going to have to, as far as they're already kind of thinking about the Vegas stuff, and you really don't want him in there if he's not a part of your team.
Right.
You really want to get somebody. You really want to move him out. So,
but he'd still get a ring if they won the cup. That's the funny thing.
Yeah, he could still be at the. We might still see him on the ice. Lifting the cup above his head. I wouldn't be shocked there either, even though he's not officially a Penguin employee anymore. But
by the way, just a little humorous note: the fact that Marc-Andre Fleury covered Matt Niskanen's name on the back of his mask because he had the entire roster of the 2009 Stanley Cup team on the back of his mask, and he covered Niskanen's name with tape.
Fleury's funny that way. He is a very funny guy, and so I think that's not out of malice or anything. That's actually kind of funny. It's just that's cool. I actually think that those little kind of things are interesting.
That kind of stuff. No, and I think that's amazing. I think that's, and Niskanen was very hesitant last night too. I felt like he was also intimidated by the whole situation. I think this is when you knock Crosby out, you feel like you're going to be in trouble. You feel like you're in trouble. Like I think there's
actually the only player who didn't seem fazed by the I thought there was a lot of sort of carefulness in that game. The only one who wasn't fazed was Wilson. Wilson was running around like a man with his head on fire.
Yeah, he is continually. I know. I agree with you. And you almost like should just throw a C on his shirt right now for crying out loud.
Yeah. Now, is the league going to have a crackdown on the fake on the high sticks?
Oh my God. Yeah, that was the worst. It's just
just on the fake high stick in general, snapping your head back. I mean, come on.
Oh man, in a in a move that only Jake Muzzin could be proud of. I mean, that was just like, completely. I always associate this kind of stuff with Jake Muzzin because I'm still to this day telling you that the only reason the Kings came from behind against the Sharks in that when they were up 3-0 was because Jake Muzzin faked about 20 penalties in the final 4 games. He was incredible at it, and especially in Game 4 where
guys are getting really good at it, and they need to sort of have something to derail that.
Well, here it is, and
well, please, the most ridiculous one of them all in this playoff was PK Subban, getting combed with a high stick.
Yeah.
And
listen, you can't sit there and say that these guys are wrong for doing this. I mean, it's part of the game actually at this point, right? So
yeah, I can't even see where Oshie touched him.
Can I also say that Hainsey is 65 makes me crazy just in this picture, because you feel like that number just is too close in my mind for Pittsburgh.
Too close to his age?
For a Pittsburgh Penguin player to wear, because every time I see...
Oh, will you stop it with this?
My God.
No, I'm just saying, come on. Doesn't your head... watch this for a second. I'm telling you, you watched 1984. There you go.
I'm waiting for you to say that Aaron Judge, the New York Yankees outfielder, should be stopped from wearing number 99 because Wayne Gretzky...
No, this is a Penguin. I'm talking about the Penguin uniform with number 65 on it is what I'm talking about. I don't care about what's happening on the island.
Number 64 and number 65 and number 67 are fine in my mind. I don't care who wears them. As a Penguin.
Crazy stat, guys, for you before we get out of here. Who is the number 1 plus-minus player in the playoffs right now?
Number 1 plus-minus.
Not Adam Larson.
At a plus 11.
Silverberg.
Ricard Raquel.
I would give you $100 if you can get this in the first 3 guesses. But if you don't know it, you got to not know it.
Ricard Raquel.
Nope. This is shocking.
Can we get a hint?
No, I don't want a hint.
Nope.
It's
not a defensive player. Let me put it that way. You do not.
What's that?
I'll give you one hint that you would never call him a 4 defense, Mike, in Stratomatic. You would never.
Okay.
Ryan Ellis.
He's a straight up. Nope. He's a straight up 4-1 D like double. D as can be 4. Okay, that's what he is.
Okay.
He has never thrown a check that he liked.
Because Ryan Ellis fits that description.
Yeah, I'm giving up. I don't care.
No, just give me a couple seconds.
This guy throws less checks than anyone in the world. Throw that out there. That's a huge hint.
I don't even care. I gave up on it already.
Okay.
That's an enormous hint. Come on now. We talked about this last year on the show.
Justin Schultz.
No, we were stunned by the fact that this guy hadn't thrown more than 5 checks in.
I do remember the conversation. I can't remember who the guy is.
Go ahead.
When you play offense and you score all those goals, how can you not even just get counted for a check at some point or another?
I remember the whole conversation.
That's why I said Justin Schultz.
No, Phil Kessel.
That's right.
At plus 11 is the number.
He's a hot dog. Not just Harry.
Number 1 plus-minus guy in the league right now.
Interesting.
Again, that shows the complete meaningless correlation between being good and defensively and being good in plus-minus. Because Jake Gardner was the best Leaf player in terms of plus-minus, and he's not a good defenseman.
Yeah, there's more to it. That's for sure.
Next fun stat. Next fun stat I thought was really interesting. Well, of course, Getzlaf scoring last night now has 36 goals, which passes Teemu Selanne on the Ducks for playoff scoring. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Whenever you pass Teemu Selanne for goal scoring, you're impressive to me. I mean, and that's just something, because Teemu was.
Although he didn't play like a million
years time there for sure, but still, I guess maybe it's even impressive that Teemu had 35 goals with the Ducks. I mean, think about
that's the impressive thing.
And that's insane, right? I mean, because Getzlaf's been there a lot longer. Jacob Silfverberg's goal that was scored last night, I thought it was really cool that Keith Jones pointed out. Did you see right afterwards what he pointed out? Because they were all like, oh, this masterful thing that they put Getzlaf, Perry, and Silfverberg on the ice together. Well, Jones pointed it out perfectly, and we watched the highlight. You can see this.
It's Raquel.
They put that out there, and then because of the matchup line, Carlisle called Silfverberg and Perry off the ice. Perry jumped right back off the ice. Kessler jumped on because they were defending, I guess, against somebody. They're defending McDavid, right? And then the puck goes into the corner. It looks like it's an icing, by the way. That was definitely could have been an icing. Easily an icing. That was ice worse than the other Rangers one in my mind. So this one, it's not an icing. Silfverberg starts skating towards the bench, and even though he's skating towards the bench, but he sees the giveaway at that point by Larson, turns around and skates back in and shoots. He was not. It was a great move, but it wasn't designed to be like It was basically that Silfverberg made the great play by noticing an opportunity on the giveaway and
sniffed it out. Yeah.
So. That was cool. Now, so tonight I guess finally we'll leave with this, that we have we obviously have the big one. Oh, another thing too. Anything better than Game 4 overtimes? I was just thinking about this last night too. I tweeted it out too. But I think of all the moments in the NHL playoffs, besides obviously Game 7 overtimes, which is the next goal wins the series. Game 4 overtimes are so crazy intense because of the ramifications of going to 2-2 or 3-1 are just huge. I mean, the difference between 2-2 and 3-1 are just everything. Like one series is almost over, another series is totally done. One shot. I think that Game 4 overtimes.
No, I think that's fair.
Most stressful time, except for Game 7 overtimes, of course. But people were quick to point that out. Game 7 was more stressful. But okay, I understand that. But I'm just saying.
I mean, I think for tonight's game, really, Senators need to win loose puck battles. They need to get there before the Rangers, or obstruct them before the Rangers get there. The Rangers' speed was too much for them in the last game, and we'll see if Boucher's got another answer, because even if Vigneault keeps everything the same, which he's likely to do, it's up to Boucher now to counter. Otherwise, he could lose this series. He could start going downhill in this series.
Russ, I think it was actually not less their speed, the Rangers, than it was their passing ability. Their passing was tic-tac-toe, really quick, really, get it to the guy who's coming out of the zone. It caught Ottawa on their heels, and once they got up 4-0, I mean, I know they came back and got that goal to respond and just get off the schneid. They were in control of that game all the way. And I'll say one thing: Craig Anderson had better come up much bigger than he has in the last 2 games, because he allowed 5 goals and they should have lost in Game 2, and he allowed 4. Yeah. And, one of them was directly his fault, the one that went behind the net. So, I mean, they're going to need Craig Anderson to have one of those stand-on-your-head type games for them to win Game 4 at MSG.
I mean, if Peugeot had 4 goals, is it crazy to think that Tanner Glass could have 3?
Oh, geez.
Anyhow.
The Rangers, when they get hot as a scoring team, that's when they're really in trouble, because they're very streaky,
We'll know if they're hot pretty early on in this game. That's when you'll know.
One thing I noticed too, just to keep an eye on. I didn't see anybody else mention it, but there was the play in the Edmonton-Anaheim game before they tied it up, with about like a minute before, maybe 2 minutes before they tied it up at the end, when Edmonton tied it up, where McDavid takes a slash at Gibson, gets his glove pretty good. Gibson really looks like it hurt him a lot. After that, 2 pucks shot at Gibson's gloves, he misses. He mishandles both of them.
He mishandled it. Here's the thing about the mishandled glove thing, though, and I've talked about this before. Sometimes guys get to a puck that is impossible to actually glove, but it's better that they hit it than if they don't hit it.
Yeah, but both of these were not. These were routine plays to me. I mean, to me,
I don't know. Was that one that you're talking about routine? I watched it a couple times. I don't know if that was routine.
I don't know. I mean,
it was in tight and it handcuffed him, I think.
I'm really curious, because you get slashed in the hand there. That really affects your glove hand, and and you're not coming out of the game at that point.
Ask Cujo. He played with a broken hand.
Yeah, so I'm really curious. I think that's going to be something to watch in the next game.
Okay. I have one more thing too. I forgot this. for Edmonton Oiler fans, something that they've been maligned about and people talk about it. Ethan Bear, who plays for the Seattle Thunderbirds, who right now is just on a roll. He's got 16 points in 11 playoff games, but he also won WHL Defenseman of the Year. He was a 5th-round pick in 2015, only 19. So there could be, an offensive defenseman in a few years for them. So that's nice. They may have found some gold in the 5th round. We'll see.
Bobby Ryan will be in tonight, according to reports. Tom Pyatt will return. Zach Smith is a game-time decision. So
it's better that they have Ryan than Smith. I mean, that's for sure.
Yeah.
You had to choose.
All right, we'll be back again tomorrow, guys. Stay tuned for the time. It's Fridays. We move around a little bit on Fridays. We don't really know what time.
It's in flux.
We don't know what time we're doing it yet ourselves, so we'll figure it out this afternoon and let you all know. But stay tuned. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow. Enjoy the game.